Sukyoto and good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Welcome to the weekly Sunday Puja and Dhamma sharing online, organized by MSBS and supported by Theravada Buddhist Council of Malaysia. Wishing everyone a Happy New Year 2021, and may it be peaceful, joyful, happy, and all year round. Today is the 10th January 2021. Now we shall cross over to a local Buddhist center, Malacca. Over to you, Sister Kut.
As I read the reflections on the offerings. Offering of lights. May we offer these candles burning brightly out of deep respect and veneration to our enlightened Master, the Buddha. May these lights symbolically guide us to the light of the Dhamma, which dispels the darkness of greed with the light of generosity, the gloominess of hatred with the light of love, and the darkness of ignorance with the light of wisdom through the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Offering of joss sticks and incense. May we offer these joss sticks and incense out of deep respect and veneration to our blessed Master, the Buddha. May our good deeds be like the fragrance of these joss sticks, cultivating compassion, patience, tolerance, understanding, and love towards all living beings. Offering of water. May we offer this water to symbolize our aspiration to cultivate the virtues of calmness, clarity, and purity. Let it remind us to diligently cleanse ourselves of our spiritual defilements and delusions through the cultivation of generosity, compassion, and wisdom. Offering of flowers. These flowers too we offer out of deep respect and gratitude to our compassionate Master, the Buddha. These flowers, sweet, beautiful, and choice, are clustered at the feet of our noble Master. Beautiful as they are now, they will soon, with the passing of time, wilt and fade and be cast away. Reflecting thus on this very nature of unsatisfactoriness, impermanence, and soullessness, let us tread the path shown by the Buddha for the eradication of sufferings here and now. We shall now pay our homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha by saying sadhu 3 times.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So let's pay homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha to start our service. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adimnadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccacara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapamadhatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho Vijjacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttara purisa dhamma sarati satta deva manusanam buddho bhagavati swakato bhagavata dhammo sannitthiko akaliko ehipasiko panaiko pacatam veditabbo vinyuhiti Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Uccupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Samicipatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho Yadidang cattari purisa yugani Atta purisa poggala Esa bhagavato savaka sangho Ahuneyo pahuneyo Dakhineyo Anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyaketang lokasati Vandami cetiyang sabbang sappatane supatikita Saririka dhatu mahabodhing buddha rupang sakalang sada Yasamule nisinno vasabbari vijayang akapato sabanyutang satta vandetang bodhipadapang ime ete mahabodhi lokanatena pujita aham pite namasami bodhi raja namatute Gana sarappaditena dipena tamadang sina Tilokadipang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang Ganda sambhara yuttena dupena hang sugandina pujaye pujaniyantang puja bhajana muttamang Adivasetu no bante paniyang parikapitang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muttamang Adivasetu no bante bojanang parikapitang anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muttamang Adivasetu no bante gilana paccayang iman anukampang upadaya patiganhatu muttamang Vanda ganda guno petang etang kusuma santati pujayami munim dasa siri pada sarorure pujemi buddhang kusumena nena punyena metena cahotu mokkang Uppang milayati yata idang me kayo tatayati vinasa bhavang Akasatta ca bhummatta devanaga mahitika Punyantang anumodetva cirang rakhantu loka sasanam Akasatta ca bhummatta devanaga mahitika Punyantang anumodetva cirang rakhantu desanam Akasatta ca bhummatta devanaga mahitika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakhantu mang parangti Devo vasatu kalena sasa sampati hetu ca Pito bhavatu loko ca raja bhavatu dhammiko Idang me nyati nangotu sukita hontu nyadayo Idang me nyati nangotu sukita hontu nyadayo Idang me nyati nangotu sukita hontu nyadayo Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yabane bana patiya kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya katang Acayang kamma me bante puri panya tathagata Kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya katang Acayang kamma me dhamma sanjittika akalika cittena pamadena maya katang Acayang Kamma me sangga supatipanna anuttara. So now let's recite together the Metta Sutta. Karaniya matta kusalena yantang santang padang abisamecha Ko uju cha suju cha jasa mudu anatimani santu sako cha suparo cha apakicco cha sallahu kabuti santindriyo cha nipako cha Bokule suananu gito naca kutang samacare yena vinyo pare upavate yung sukino vakenino hontu sabbe satta bhavantu sukita Taye ke cipana butati tasava va anavasesa digavaye mahantava majimara sakanu katula dittava yeva ditta Vasati avidure bhutava sambhave sivasa vesatta bhavantu sukhita kana paro param nikobeta natiman yeta kata cinang kanci vyarosana Sanya nanya manya sadukha niccaya mata yata niyam puttang ayusa eka putta manurake evang pisabba buddhesu manasang aparimanam Tang ca sabba lokasmi manasam bhavaye aparimana uddang adoca tiriyan ca asampadang averang asapatang tang jarang nisinno va sayano va yavata sabigata mito etam sati ngadi teya brahma metam viharang idamahudi kinca anupakamma sila vadasane no sampanno Meso vineya gedang nahi jatu kapaseyang punareti etena sajja vajjena sottite hotu sapada etena sajja vajjena Barogo vinasatu etena sajjava jena hotu te jaya mangalang sadhu 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 Over to you, Brother Terence.
Today's Dhamma sharing is led by Didi Ananda Fong. He is one of the highly knowledgeable Dhamma speaker in Malaysia. Didi Ananda Fong was a student of the late Venerable K. Sri Dhammananda, and later became the facilitator and deputy principal at Buddhist Institute Sunday Dhamma School at Buddhist Mahavihara, Kuala Lumpur. He was the first honorary Secretary General of the TBCM in 2012 and later the Assistant Honorary General, Secretary General until 2018. He still manages the TBCM Facebook page until today. The Ananda actively promotes reading the Nikayas and facilitates Dhamma courses and sharing regularly in Malaysia. Over to you, Dini Ananda.
Thank you, Brother Terence, for the kind introduction. Let me start with a short puja before the Dhamma sharing. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. This morning's sharing is entitled The Scale of Good Deeds, Reflections on Kusala Kamma and the Velāma Sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya Book of 9. Well, just to recap, most of us should know by now that the Buddha's teachings are encapsulated in the Tipitaka, the three baskets, comprising the Vinaya Pitaka, the Sutta Pitaka, and the Abhidhamma Pitaka. And the language of the recording is generally referred to as Pali. Pali just means the language of the text or the Buddhist text. The Sutta Pitaka itself contains 5 collections or Nikayas. They are the Digha Nikaya, Majjhima Nikaya, Sangyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, and the Khuddaka Nikaya. All of these are, you may reference at a good library, a good Buddhist library, or if you're resourceful, even online. Now, the natures of the Buddha's enlightenment under the Bodhi tree comprises his realization of the 3 knowledges. But here I would like to highlight the aspect of the second knowledge. Now, this is recorded in the Mahasacaka Sutta that the Buddha recalled, when my mind had immersed in samadhi, deep tranquility or concentration, immersed in samadhi like this, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruptions, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable, I extended it toward knowledge. Now, this particular paragraph is important, which shows that the Buddha used meditation techniques, in this case, immersing in deep tranquility and concentration, to rid his mind of all those defilements and then dirt that blocked his mind from showing itself. And in other suttas, the Buddha described the mind, when it's purified, is actually bright. It is flawless. And because of that, it is pliable, workable, steady. That means when you do the work of meditation, you are cleaning all the dirt away from the mind, let the brightness shine forth, and then you can make use of it to do something. In this case, the Buddha, or at that time, the Bodhisattva, extended it toward the knowledge of the death and rebirth of sentient beings. And this is what he saw. He recalled, I saw sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place. I understood how sentient beings are reborn according to their deeds. Deeds, translated in Pali, meaning Kamma. Kamma means actions or deeds. So this is the second knowledge which I achieved in the middle watch of the night. Ignorance was destroyed, knowledge arose, darkness was destroyed, and light arose, as happens for a meditator who is diligent, keen, and resolute. and so on. So here clearly in the second watch of the night, the Buddha dwelled deeply into aspects of why sentient beings are reborn and in what state. Some are born in inferior state, in superior state, beautiful, ugly, in a good place, in a bad place, and so on, which basically explains all the inequalities in life. Now, very often in Dhamma studies, we come across this particular mention that underneath the Bodhi tree, the Buddha attained enlightenment. But what is this enlightenment talking about? Well, in the commentarial literature, there's mention of the Pancha Niyama. Pancha means 5, Niyama means the orders, lawfulness or the natural order. So the 5 natural orders comprising Utu Niyama, Bija Niyama, Kamma Niyama, Dhamma Niyama, and Citta Niyama. And Utu Niyama describes the physical inorganic order, typically the seasonal phenomena of winds and rains, the seasons and so on. Bija Niyama, the order of germs, seeds, and so on, or the genetics and so on. And of course, Kamma Niyama, the order of actions or deeds and their results. Finally, the Dhamma Niyama, the order of the norm, the natural phenomenon occurring, especially during the advent of a Bodhisattva in his last birth. Also included are the law of gravity and many other similar laws of nature. Citta Niyama, the order of mind or psychic law, the process of consciousness arising and perishing of consciousness and so on, all mental phenomena. So all these are described, the Pancha Niyama, as what the Buddha realized underneath the Bodhi tree. Essentially, you can summarize it as saying underneath the Bodhi tree, the Bodhisattva, when he became the Buddha, he gained the knowledge of all natural laws in the whole of the universe. And some qualities of the Dhamma, in this case, Dhamma can mean also the natural laws of the universe. The qualities here I would like to highlight are those which are underlined. Akaliko, timelessness. Well, natural laws as we know it from our studies in science, in school and so on, that all natural laws are timeless. They have been here before we were even born. They will be here after we are gone. And of course, the Dhamma, as far as the Buddha is concerned, invites investigation. He wants us to understand what made the universe and what makes us tick, and so on. Now, frequently when you study the Dhamma, you will come across lessons the Buddha will give to this lay person, that lay person in different parts of India, this monk or that monk in this part or another part of India, even to kings and ministers and so on. And here, the Buddha clearly says that we need to refrain from unwholesome deeds. In this case, refrain from what is unwholesome. The Buddha teaches in the Mangala Suta. Mangala Suta is a sutta containing 38 blessings. It is a sutta regarding blessings. That means if you want to find out what is good to do, what is good luck for you, well, there's a whole list in the Mangala Suta. And in this Mangala Suta, the Buddha advises that we should refrain from what is unwholesome, what is unskillful, or akusala, and be steadfast and do frequently what is good, kusala kamma, that means wholesome actions. Elsewhere, it's recorded, the famous teaching, especially in this Dhammapada verse 183, Sabba papasa akranang kusalasa upasampada sacitta parida panang etang buddhana sasanang. The famous quote mentioning that we should avoid evil, do good, purify your mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. So clearly here again, in this particular quotation, the Buddha asks us to avoid unwholesomeness or avoid evil, cultivate wholesomeness, good actions, good deeds, and ultimately to purify your mind. So the Buddha's teaching is clearly very, very consistent throughout different parts of India during his 45 years of teaching. And the Buddha further emphasized that we are responsible for our actions. And here the Buddha says, I am the owner of my deeds, heir to my deeds. Deeds are my womb. These are my womb. Why? Because you inherited all those deeds. When we pass away, we can't carry all the bonds, all the riches, all the houses, all the cars, all the children that we have came to raise up and so on with us to the next life. But our actions. So these are our womb. The womb, why? When we are reborn, they determine where you are born, how you are born, what you are born as in the future life. They are my relatives. So these determine who are your siblings, who are your parents, who are your friends, who you come across. You come across mean people, you come across very nice people who are ever helpful, or what? My refuge. Now, refuge is some place in which we seek shelter. And because of your earlier deeds can determine whether you come across good refuges or misleading refuges. Refuges that cause more trouble to you and give you more delusion, or refuges that actually help to make your life more pleasant. Refuges can be in the sense of ideas, philosophies, as well as actual physical refuge. So concluding, the Buddha says in this particular sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya Book of 5, I shall be the heir of whatever deeds I do, whether good or bad. So we inherit everything. We own up to it. Now, grounds for making merit. Now, this was said in the Itivuttaka number 60. Because there are these 3 grounds of making merit. What 3? One should train in deeds of merit that yield long-lasting happiness. And how do we do that? Well, by practicing dana, sila, bhavana, giving virtue or moral actions, and developing your mental capabilities. So dana, sila, bhavana. By cultivating these 3 things, deeds, your actions, your kamma, will yield happiness. The wise person is reborn in bliss, in an untroubled, happy world. So yet here again, the Buddha tells you about how to be happy. So indeed, Buddhism is a philosophy or way of life that promotes happiness and well-being if you follow those advices. So as mentioned in the earlier slide, dana, sila, bhavana. Let us dwell a little bit deeper into aspects of dana, giving. The Buddha in this particular sutta from Itivuttaka number 26 mentions, if beings knew, as I know, the result of giving and sharing, they would not eat without having given, or would they allow the stain of meanness to obsess them and take root in their minds. So here again, we see the Buddha emphasizing the importance of giving. Now at the bottom, you see various ways in which we can give. Of course, this is only a selection. It happened to be pintacara. Pintacara means the monks, the renunciates going on alms round. Pinda means the food. Chara means going out for alms. Now let us go into the Velāma Sutta. So earlier slides were talking about aspects of cultivating wholesome actions and so on, and what to give up. Here the Velāma Sutta translated as the scale of good deeds. That means there are different kinds of good deeds, different levels. Some are what we might say kindergarten level wholesome actions, moving up the ladder to primary, to secondary, to high school, to college, to university. That means to higher and higher levels of wholesome deeds. But the Velāma Suttas start with something about how should we give. So how to give a gift. So on this occasion, the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove. Savatthi happens to be during the Buddha's time, the capital city of the kingdom of Kusala, the king being Pasenadi of Kusala. And in this, just outside Savatthi is Jeta's grove. Ananda Pindika's monastery. And because the Jeta Varna means monastery, was donated, was bought, built, and donated by Ananda Pindika to the Mahasangha. So the introduction continues. Then the householder, Ananda Pindika, went up to the Buddha, bowed, and sat to one side. Householder, someone might give a gift that's either cause or fine, but they give it carelessly, thoughtlessly, not with their own hand. They give the dregs or leftovers or stale food, and they give without consideration for consequences. Now, this is important. Now, elsewhere in other Dhamma sharings, you will have come across teachers or facilitators that mention that the aspect of dana or giving covers three main areas. One is the aspect of the giver, the aspect of the gift itself. What kind of gift do you give? And the recipient, whether the recipient is worthy to receive it, and so on. Now, in this case, we are talking about the giver, whether how the person actually gives the gift. Even if dana is offering of food, how do you offer food? Do you offer food with care or carelessly, thoughtfully or thoughtlessly? Or whether you actually serve, that means with your own hands, you actually offer this gift, or you just delegate, pass some money to another person, or I contribute some money to some contribution, let you donate on my behalf. Now here the Buddha says, not with their own hand, is classed together with the other two, carelessly and thoughtless way of giving. And of course, when you give, you do not want to give leftover food. And what are the results of careless and thoughtless giving? The sutta continues. Then, wherever the result of any such gift manifests, their mind doesn't incline toward enjoyment of nice food, clothes, vehicles, or the five refined kinds of sensual stimulation. Now, this, very often people perform a lot of wholesome actions, although carelessly, although thoughtlessly, but nevertheless, they have performed some aspect of giving. They also generate wholesome karmic energies. But when those energies, what they call take result, become vipaka, that means resultants that happen in their lives, what happens is that although they may nice food may reach their table, they have opportunities to enjoy clothes, vehicles, and so on, their mental makeup is such that they do not know how to enjoy those nice things, which they have made for themselves earlier. Maybe in the previous life, they have performed some dana and all that, but they did it carelessly, thoughtlessly, not with their own hands. So they reap the results of those wholesome actions, but they are not able to enjoy it. They do not know how to enjoy it. Further, and their children, wives, bond servants, employees, and workers don't want to listen to them. They don't pay attention or try to understand. So the people around you will not listen to you, give you a lot of trouble, and so on. So now you know why some of your children don't listen to you. And the Buddha concludes this section. Why is that? Because that is the result of deeds done carelessly. And of course, after talking about careless giving, the Buddha talks about careful giving. Someone might give a gift that's either cause or fine, and they give it carefully, thoughtfully, with their own hand. They don't give the dregs, and they give with consideration for consequences. Then, whenever the result of any such gift manifests, their mind inclines toward enjoyment of nice food, clothes, vehicles, and the 5 refined kinds of sensual stimulation. And their children, wives, bond servants, employees, and workers want to listen to them. They pay attention and try to understand. This is because that is the result of deeds done carefully, thoughtfully, and with their own hands. So next time you perform wholesome giving, please do it carefully and take note of the results of careless giving. Now, this particular sutta continues with some interesting comparisons between not just giving, but it moves up the scale of ladder. Certain actions generate a certain amount of wholesome energies, okay, even with the proper mindset and so on. But there's certain actions that generate even more wholesome energies. So all of us will obviously want to perform what they call to make wholesome karma, to make a lot of wholesome energies for our benefit, for our comfort along the path towards liberation. So here the sutta continues with the aspect of Mahadana. Now, dana is already giving. Mahadana is great dana, dana which is very, very, what they call, some might say expensive, and so on. Here, number one, this is the first case. Once upon a time, householder, there was a Brahmin named Velāma. The Buddha was recalling a case in the past. Now, this person, Velāma, gave the following gift, a great offering, 84,000 gold bowls filled with silver, 84,000 silver bowls filled with gold, 84,000 bronze bowls filled with gold coins, 84,000 elephants with gold adornments and banners covered with gold netting, and so on and so forth. Notice that in this particular portion of the sutta, there's frequent use of the number 84,000. 84,000 is a common designation during the times of the Buddha, and not just the Buddha himself, even before there was a Gautama the Buddha. It is common usage of this number to denote, to point towards what they call an idea floating around Indian society in the ancient times. Now, the 84 has something to do with the 12 months of the year, and 12 times 7. The 7 comes from the Indian cosmological idea that there are certain 7 planets or constellations above them. So 7 times 12 is 84. The 1,000 portion is probably to multiply all that. But nevertheless, this particular page on Mahadana demonstrates that there was so much food, so much offering, it seemed to flow like a river. And this is way beyond the kinds of dana that most of us would perform in our lifetime, because this was given by Velāma, a very, very rich man. In today's terms, he's probably a trillionaire. But here, the Buddha continues, householder, I myself was the Brahmin Velāma at that time. I gave the gift, a great offering, but at that event, there was no one worthy of a religious donation and no one to purify the religious donation. So in short, there was no worthy recipient, although he was so rich and able to give so much. Now, moving up the ladder as far as wholesome deeds and wholesome giving is concerned, the Buddha mentions in number 2, it would be more fruitful to feed one person accomplished in view, the person who has ditthi. Now, then that great offering of Velāma. So here the Buddha is comparing that if you are able to find one person with right view, especially right view in the Noble Eightfold Path, even giving food, feeding one person with right view, that wholesome energies generate, the karma that you generate is even more than the Mahadana given by Velāma in the past. And moving up the ladder, it will be more fruitful to feed once returner, a person who has attained Satkadagadami, the second stage of sainthood, than a person, 100 persons accomplished in right view. Now, such is the karmic energies generated to when you feed once returner, we mean a person worthy of receiving your gift. Even that is just mere feeding one person. Moving further to number 4. It would be more fruitful to feed one non-returner, a person who has attained anagami, meaning a person who has attained the third stage of sainthood, than 100 once returners. And number 5, it would be more fruitful to feed one perfected one, a perfected one meaning an arahat, than 100 non-returners, anagamins. And number 6, it will be more fruitful to feed one Buddha awakened for themselves, that means a Pachika Buddha, than 100 Arahats. Now, by now you'll be wondering, what is this second stage of sainthood, third stage of sainthood, Arahats? What constitute them, let alone talking about Pachika Buddhas? Here, this particular page gives you some idea that we are caught in this continual, unending samsara, a cycle of birth and death, because of the 10 fetters, the Sangyojanas, which tie beings to this wheel of existence. Basically, as far as the Buddha discovered, that this world are basically made up of 2 kinds of people: Putujanas, means ordinary people, and noble ones, Arya. Arya are the people who are in various stages of enlightenment or fully enlightened. They are liberated. They can see Nibbana, feel Nibbana. Those are the noble ones. The rest of us are Putujanas. Putujana has nothing to do with IQ level, EQ level, or whatever. Putujana is just measured by whether you are still having the 10 fetters within you, various intensities, or have lesser. If you have lesser, then you are one of the noble ones, the Aryas. Now, a person who has attained stream winnership or attained Sotapanna are those who have uprooted. Now, this is not a matter of just mere understanding and belief, but as long as you have uprooted, it means when you uproot something like grass from your garden, that spot on your garden will never go grass again unless you plant another, what they call grass seed. But in this case, once you uproot within your psychic, that particular fetter will not come back into your mind. It can never come back into your mind. So this is the fetter of personality belief. The person who believes in the I. He has the idea of I. I am important. This is my body. I am rich, and so on. All aspects about I. Personality belief. The second one is Vicikicca, skeptical doubt. Now, it is okay to doubt. In fact, it is good to doubt, the Buddha says, but to have skeptical doubt is one to have doubt. And even if other people were to present evidence and convincing arguments and so on, that this person still holds on to his or her own belief. That means very skeptical, regardless of the evidence right before them. And the third one, uprooting Silabata Paramasa, meaning clinging to mere rules and rituals. So if there's great attachment to rules and rituals, especially in religious spheres, then it is a fetter. Once you give up all these 3 initial fetters, you would have transformed yourself from a Putujana stage to one who is an Arya, a noble one. And what in Buddhist circles we call attain the first stage of sainthood, or the first stream winner, or Sotapanna. Now, the second stream winner, Sakadagami, that is one person who actually tones down to a great extent Kamma raga, sensuous craving, and tone down Vyapada, ill will. Not uprooted yet, but toned down significantly until the person can be classified as a second stage of sainthood or second stream winner. A person who has uprooted Kamma raga and Vyapada attains Anagami, a stream winner. So up to here, if you have gone up to Anagami, you have already uprooted the first 5 of the 10 fetters that bind you to the cycle of birth and death. And to attain the 4th stage of sainthood or Arhathood, the person, the Anagami, needs to uproot craving for fine material existence, Rupa Raga, uproot craving for immaterial existence, Arupa Raga, uproot conceit, Mana, uproot restlessness, Uddhacca, and finally uproot ignorance, Avijja. So once you have uprooted all 10 of these fetters of defilements, you are an Arahat, a noble one. And for the characteristic, one important characteristic of the Arahat is that person is fearless, and is liberated, and that would be the last life. That means arahats will not be reborn. Those in Sotapan can still be reborn, and the text mentioned that at most 7 more lifetimes, because the momentum to cultivate and eliminate the balance of the fetters, after the first 3 fetters have been uprooted, the balance 7 factors, the momentum is so strong that within the maximum of 7 lifetimes, the Sotapan would have attained arahat. Of course, there are many, many other aspects and qualities of the arahat, which is beyond the scope of this morning's sharing. So the sharing continues in the Velāma Sutta. Number 7, it would be more fruitful to feed one realized one, a perfected one, a fully awakened Buddha. Tathagatang, Arahang, Samma Sambuddhang, than 100 Pachika Buddhas. Now, Pachika Buddhas are Buddhas who have gained enlightenment on their own. They have no teachers, but the nature of their enlightenment is such that, and their practice is such that they are not skillful at teaching other people. They are wise people. You can go up to them to seek advice, but they are not skilled at teaching. Compared to a Samma Sambuddha who is very, very skillful at teaching. Number 8, it would be more fruitful to feed the mendicant Sangha headed by the Buddha than to feed even a Samma Sambuddha. So number 8, if you were to manage to offer dana to the Buddha and the Mahasangha, the merit generator is enormous. But this is only number 8. There are still steps to go higher, opportunities for generate even higher merits. Number 9, it would be more fruitful to build a dwelling. The Pali word here is vihara, viharang. Vihara basically means dwelling, monastery, or temple. Okay, usually for the residents of the Sangha. So build a dwelling, especially for the Sangha of the 4 quarters. That means the whole of the Sangha. Then to feed the mendicant Sangha headed by the Sambasa Buddha. So building viharas or monasteries is very, very fruitful. Number 10, it will be more fruitful to go for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha with a confident heart than to build a dwelling for the Sangha of the 4 quarters. Now, this is the main import of this morning's sharing, that I want to highlight that we should not be just going forward and offer dana, because it's almost impossible for us to even offer a mahadana. So for the rest of us putujanas, how do we gain merits that open paths for us to gain a pleasant life as well as to gain liberation? Well, number 10 is number 9 and number 10 are the first possibilities that we can go for. That means going for refuge with the confident heart, with the faithful heart, with the conscientious heart, we can actually earn wholesome calming energies, going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And it goes further. It will be more fruitful to undertake the training rules. Now, in Buddhism, there are no commandments because the Buddha doesn't command us. He just advises, he teaches us. And if it's all students and teachers, especially students, we can take the teacher's advice or we can just leave it alone. So if we undertake the training rules to cultivate ourselves, to develop ourselves to a higher stage, then it is for our welfare and good. And why do teachers bother to teach us? Because it is out of compassion and loving kindness that they have our welfare at heart. So what are these training rules this sutta mentions? Not to kill living beings, panatipata, as in the 5 precepts. Not to steal, adina dana. Commit sexual misconduct, kamisu micha. To lie, musavada. Take alcoholic drinks, sura, merya, maja, pamadatana. So all of you would recognize these 5 training rules, basic training rules in the Buddhist way of life as that of the 5 precepts. So undertaking the 5 training rules, not mere lip service, not mere recitation, but actually trying your best to cultivate and practice these 5 training rules is more fruitful than even going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Number 12, it will be more fruitful to develop a heart of love, metta. The heart of love here refers to cultivation of meditation, cultivation and development of loving kindness. So even just as long it takes to pull a cows under, then to undertake the training rules. So developing loving kindness within ourselves through meditation is even what I call higher, or it will generate more wholesome calming energies than mere observance of the 5 precepts, the Pancha Sila. And number 13, it will be more fruitful to develop the perception of impermanence, anicca sanya, then even for as long as a finger snap, then to do all these things, including developing the heart of love or loving kindness, for as long as it takes to pull a cows under. So clearly, we are moving towards cultivating the mind, bhavana, in number 12, and pushing it further into 13, whereby we develop the perception of impermanence. And if we go on further, we will gain liberation. So clearly here we can see that we have a lot of opportunities to generate wholesome calming energies, not through just mere offering dana, offering food to anyone, but to actually develop ourselves, to cultivate ourselves through taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, to observing conscientiously the 5 precepts, to develop loving kindness, and to develop the perception of impermanence. Here I have attempted to put it in a chart. The other persons have tried to illustrate it differently also. Just my attempt. Here we have dana, meaning giving, and of all danas, we have the great offering, the mahadana that Velāma offered, though he didn't find any qualified recipients. And if you were to offer to a person with right view, it will generate higher or more wholesome calming energies than offering mahadana. But if you were to offer to a once returner, so a person who has attained the 2nd stage of sainthood, it would generate more calming energies than if you were to offer to feed 100 persons with right view. And similarly, one non-returner would generate more calming energies than 100 once returners. And of course, offering food to one arahat is more beneficial than offering food to 100 anagamis or non-returners. And further down, offering dana to one Pachika Buddha is more beneficial than offering food to 100 arahats. And similarly, feeding one Samma Sambuddha is more beneficial than feeding 100 Pachika Buddhas. Feeding the Sangha headed by the Buddha is more beneficial than feeding one Samma Sambuddha. And here we see building a vihara or dwelling for the Sangha of the 4 quarters is even more beneficial for the Sangha headed by the Buddha. And moving towards the important portion where we have a chance to do something, going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha is even more beneficial than building a vihara for the Sangha of the 4 quarters. And as your cultivation goes into the higher level, number 11, undertake the training rules. In this case, the 5 precepts conscientiously generates more wholesome energies than that of going for refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And here, development of loving kindness or metta through meditation is even higher than undertaking observance of the 5 precepts. And finally, developing the perception of impermanence generates more wholesome calming energies than even the meditative cultivation of loving kindness. So this is the import of the Velāma Sutta, showing the scale of good deeds that are possible for us all. And we should be able to choose correctly which way we should go. Now, elsewhere in the suttas, the Buddha has been said to have advised, having abandoned bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, misconduct of the mind, and whatever else is flawed, not having one done what is not skillful, having done much that is skillful, at the breakup of the body, the discerning one reappears in heaven. And of course, if you are familiar with the 31 places of existence, heaven is just not one place. There are several places, starting from plane of existence number 6 up to 11. So there is a choice, all determined by your actions. So a wise person, seeing his own good, steadfast, secures confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. One who practices the Dhamma in thought, word, and deed receives praise here on earth, and after death rejoices in heaven. But all these practices are to be done gradually. And the Buddha says that as we can see that the sea has a gradual shelf, a gradual slope, a gradual inclination with a sudden drop-off only after a long stretch. In the same way, this doctrine and discipline, this Dhamma Vinaya, or the teaching of the Buddha, has a gradual training, a gradual performance, a gradual progression, with the penetration to Gnosis or enlightenment only after a long stretch. So everything is step by step. And finally, the doer of good rejoices here and hereafter. He rejoices in both the worlds. He rejoices and exalts, recollecting his own pure deeds. This is Dhammapada verse number 16. But clearly in the earlier Dhammapada verse 183, avoiding evil and doing good are the initial steps we need to take. But as the Velāma Sutta has indicated, and even in Dhammapada verse 183, purification of the mind needs to be undertaken. Therefore, that includes going for refuge, the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, cultivating the 5 precepts, cultivating loving kindness, mental development, and finally, perception of impermanence that will point the way towards liberation. That means transforming us as Putujana at the moment towards Arya state, at least gaining the first stage of sainthood, Sotapan. So this is the way to take care of our own welfare, for our own happiness. So thank you for your attention this morning. In closing this morning's Dhamma sharing, let us recite the benediction, reciting the Pali text only. With folded palms. Akasatta ca bummatta deva naga mahittika punyang tang anumoditva cirang rakkantu sasanang cirang rakkantu desanang cirang rakkantu mamparan. Dedication of merits. Now, during these few minutes, if you have tried to understand the Dhamma sharing and to benefit you, you have generated wholesome energies, wholesome calming energies, in which you can dedicate towards your departed relatives. Reciting the Pali verses. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatoyo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatoyo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatoyo. Closing veneration. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. May all beings be happy. Sabbe Satta Sukhi Hontu. Back to you, Didi Terence.
Thank you very much, dear Ananda, for today's sharing. If you are available tomorrow, do join us at 8:30 p.m. for Didi Linghuat's Sutta recitation and explanation of Mangala Suta. And on Tuesday, Prago Adibalo will be leading the guided meditation. The time is 8:30 p.m. also. Thank you very much for watching. For other videos, please visit the links below or scan the QR code. Thank you very much. See you all soon. Bye-bye.